Hey folks, Canada geese. It's day 77, probably around 8 a.m. Daphne's still inside sleeping. Thinking about getting back on trail today, which would be nice. But yeah, took care of a lot of things while I was in town here with family and friends. First and foremost, I thought we'd go ahead and get into the Q&A portion of the stop. So my sister Erin was nice enough to sit down with me for about an hour and kind of rattle off some of the questions that you guys had, and I answered them. So again, it did wind up being about an hour. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and split that into 2 videos. So today, what I have for you is part 1 of the Q&A. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted questions. I didn't know if I'd be getting like any questions at all, and I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'll do this Q&A if it's only like 3 people asking 1 question each. That'll just kind of be a depressing thing to produce and put together and release. But yeah, I mean, again, it wound up being like an hour. So anyways, here's the first half of that interview sort of Q&A session. Hope y'all enjoy it. So maybe say hi first.
Hi, I'm Erin. I am Bee's sister.
Yeah.
Helping along
so
the way.
that's my sister. She's going to be doing the Q&A that we set up. So thanks everyone for asking so many questions. We'll try and bang through them because we got a lot. So yeah, let's go.
All right, so the first question is from Kevin Tolbert, and he says, what do you mainly eat?
I eat a lot of the same stuff every single day, to be honest. Most of the time in the morning, I do pour over coffee. I have Cafe Bustelo, which I love, so I just couldn't stomach the instant stuff. So I have Cafe Bustelo that I do a pour over every morning. And then usually I'll eat like 6 prunes in the morning as well, because I'm not getting a lot of fiber or anything on trail. Some Pop-Tarts is the meat of my breakfast, a couple Pop-Tarts. And then if possible, I'll eat a couple of like Fig Newtons or something like that as well. So generally about 700 calories or so in the morning. Lunch is usually just bars, some mix of bars. I really like the Cliff Builder bars. There's a few different bars I'll put the name of below. I can't really remember the name of right now. The Cliff Builder bars are great. Any of those like little cheese on cheese toasted crackers, 6-pack things, I eat those. In the afternoons, I'll generally switch out to more sugary stuff like Snickers or chewy, fruity gummies, the little Welch's fruit snack gummy things and stuff like that. And dinner, more times than not, is just 2 packs of ramen with some tuna. But sometimes there's a really good Knorr pasta side, which is like a power rice blend with some kind of protein, either a tuna pack or a chicken pack or something like that. And yeah, stuff like that. I mean, really, it's not very exciting. It's not usually very good, but I try and get calories really more than anything. So,
Do you have a favorite Pop-Tart flavor?
Amazingly, I'll just look at the back of them and see whatever's the most calories. And quite to my astonishment, the unfrosted ones are more calories than the frosted ones, which is bizarre. But I mean, by 10, but even still, whatever's the most calories is what I'm buying. So I like strawberry or blueberry, I think.
Our next question is from Michael Slavikoski. He asks, when you stock up on food in town, what are you eating in terms of hot meals when you settle down for the night or when you wake up in the morning?
I think some of that we just went over. So the breakfast, when I wake up in the morning, usually I'll put my coffee on to boil coffee. And then as I'm waiting for the coffee to boil, that's when I'll get my 6 prunes. I'll wait to eat the Pop-Tarts until the coffee is ready, because Pop-Tarts, I didn't even like them like high school or elementary school or anything. I don't really care for Pop-Tarts, to be perfectly honest. But they're so sweet, so I'll eat those with the coffee, because the coffee is just black and bitter, and it kind of balances out. At nighttime, again, usually just ramen. I tried the potato thing, I've tried the stuffing thing, and they're just not quite as satisfying. They all kind of turn to glue, sort of in your cook pot, and then it's really messy to clean up as well. So usually just ramen is fine, and that's like 700 or 800 calories just for ramen plus some tuna. So, and if I have olive oil or butter, I'll put that in as well.
Oh, one more from TM. You don't talk about. Wait. You don't talk about You don't talk about or show much of what you're eating on trail. Have your food choices changed since you started? Also, have you had any issues with resupplying?
I don't think my tastes have changed a whole lot since I started. If anything, what's happened is like I've just come to peace with the fact that I'm eating food that I'd rather not eat most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't think my tastes have changed a bunch. I tried a ramen bomb way too early, which was a mistake.
What's a ramen bomb?
A ramen bomb is you make ramen and then into the water of the ramen you add instant potatoes and then you add Spam as well. Like cubed up little chunks of Spam, and that just becomes like a gluey, terrible mess. And I get it because it's 1,300 calories or whatever, so it's like just a nutrient-filled, well, I shouldn't say nutrient-filled, but calorie-filled meal. But yeah, you got to be really some kind of tough to eat those. They're not great. So what, have my tastes changed? What was the second part of that question? And resupply. Have I found issues with resupplying? I have found I didn't realize that resupplying at a Walmart is very difficult because they only sell things in packs of like 24 or 16. And usually I only want 4 or 5 of something. So I found Walmart is a tricky place to resupply, but so far it's been Food Lions and Ingalls and stuff like that, and those are much better. Usually I'm finding what I need, or you can make it work, you know.
Okay. All right. From Jason Shoemaker. Is it Schumacher or Shoemaker?
Jason Schumacher. I'm not sure. Sorry, Jason. This is the fellow who gave us a ride in from. Was it Pigeon Forge? No, it wasn't Pigeon Forge. Jason picked us up someplace near the Smokies. I think it was Pigeon Forge. Yeah, I think it was Pigeon Forge. Jason gave me a lift from Buffalo. Good guy from Buffalo gave me a lift. So, hi, Jason.
We'll go Jason Schumacher.
Sure.
Hopefully it's right. Just ballpark, based on your experience so far, what would you say is an average weekly cost is for hotel, shuttles, food, etc., or an overall savings needed for a thru-hike?
I mean, the rule of thumb with this is $1,000 a month.
Really?
For a thru-hike. That's once you have all your gear and everything else. I have no idea, to be honest. I have kind of intentionally not been keeping track. I know Taylor, the New Hampshire hiker, is out on trail right now, and she's keeping track. She's got her own YouTube channel. She's great. I met her in Franklin. I have no idea. And honestly, my costs have been more because, for one, I've been, enjoying myself. Mm-hmm. But I've also been like avoiding any of the community bunk rooms and stuff like that. So like, whereas you can normally get by in a bunk for $15 a night or something, I'll do a full room on my own for like $70 or something, or split $150 room with one other guy or something. So I don't know exactly. For a week, I mean, usually you can get 4 or 5 days worth of food for 40 or $45 trail food, so that's not bad. But then you can just crush at a restaurant in town. I mean, when you're hungry and you get to town, it's not unheard of. I mean, if you're going to a barbecue place and getting a beer or two or something, I mean, after tip and everything, you can spend $50.
Oh wow!
Just for one meal. But it depends what you want to do. I mean, if you're happy just to crush McDonald's, and stay in a bunk, then you get by much cheaper. It's really all over the place. I have no idea. Sorry, Jason. I don't have any idea about it.
So here, another from Jason. Are you using
Gut Hook?
Okay. Are you using Gut Hook exclusively, or do you rely?
We got some neighbor dogs barking. That's all right, I think. Real life.
Are you using Gut Hook exclusively, or do you rely on the handheld guide as well?
Pretty much exclusively Gut Hook. The main thing I use AWOL for, the AWOL mile by mile guide, which is great. I do keep the paper copy in my bag of just whatever, like 500 miles at a time, and then I'll rip up the pages as I remember and get rid of them. I keep a paper copy of AWOL in my bag just because I'm a little paranoid that way. I like to have a backup in case my phone just explodes or something. But the main utility I've found for the AWOL guide is I personally find it a lot easier to plan out where my next stop is going to be. You can flip through the pages and the towns are in bold, and you can see what's going to be ahead. So, but even then, usually I'm using the PDF on my phone just because I pack the guide way down at the bottom of my bag. And I'm very lazy, so I don't dig it out. So Usually, I mean, mile to mile, day to day, hour to hour, it's gut hook because it's just way simpler and it kind of follows you along. When I am planning resupplies, though, I'll usually open up the PDF of AWOL and plot that way for where the next town's going to be.
Very cool. Another gear question from Daniel Cross. Why waterproof socks and shoes?
Yeah.
I am an armchair through hiker, but from what I've read and heard, it doesn't matter because your feet get wet anyway. And what waterproof stuff takes longer to dry? Also, do you stretch and or vary your pace to take care of your legs and feet?
All right. A good question about waterproof stuff. I feel like a lot of people were confused by my waterproof sock and shoe game. This is actually, I'm going to tie this in with another question I saw from someone else about my shoes. Like, hey, talk to us about shoes. Who was that? Maybe we asked that question and I'll kind of put the two together.
Oh, the Money Shot asked, thoughts on your shoes. What kind and how many have you gone through so far?
Right. So Money Shot asked, what kind? So last year I spent a lot of time hiking in all sorts of different shoes from REI and stuff like that. All sorts of different types and styles. Obviously everyone loves the Ultra Lone Peaks and I hated the Zero Drop. They tore me up. So I returned them to REI and tried a pair of Topos. And I really love the Topos. That's what I'm wearing now. I wear the Topo Trail Venture. I bought them a size up. I have small feet. I normally wear a 9.5. These are 10.5 that I hike in. And I love them. I love them. They're 5mm drop. And all last year I was hiking in the non-waterproof version for the same, bits of advice that I've heard about shoes. You want to get the non-waterproof. But honestly, right before I got on trail, I was so nervous about so many of the reports coming out of the Smokies with feet and feet and feet of snow. It was like I started the trail in the waterproof Topo Trail Ventures because I was so nervous about getting wet. And I also got the waterproof socks over top. Well, not over top, but underneath. There go the dogs again. So basically, I knew that the Topo Trail Ventures were going to be my shoes, and right before I got on trail, I bought the waterproof version, and I bought some waterproof socks just to bring them out. I did wear the waterproof version for about the first 500 miles of the trail, and then as soon as I felt comfortable about it being warm enough, I got rid of the waterproof, and now I'm hiking in the non-waterproof version of the Topo Trail Ventures. The waterproof socks, honestly, have been amazing, like way more amazing than I was prepared for. I just love them. I mean, they're wonderful. Like, if you are hiking through the rain and just your socks or whatever, they'll get wet, that's fine. But then the next day, if you don't want to get your backup pair of dry socks wet or whatever, you can throw on the waterproof socks over top of your dry socks and then hike in your wet shoes and your dry socks stay dry or whatever. I love the waterproof socks. I know maybe that makes me soft or whatever, but they're freaking amazing. I'm going to keep carrying them. And especially some of the shots I'm doing, like where I'm walking through a freaking creek to get different shots, it's nice to have protection up to just about the bottom of my knee, the top of my calf. That's going to keep the bottom half of me warm or dry. Yeah. So how many pairs have I gone through? I got through the one pair of waterproof shoes, and I'm on my first pair of non-waterproof. And then as far as why I chose waterproof, I think I went over that as well. Was there a second part to that first question?
Yeah, I'm bringing it back up.
Oh, right. Do I do anything do I vary my pace or stretch to take care of my legs?
And does waterproof stuff take longer to dry?
Waterproof stuff definitely takes longer to dry, 100%. And that's a bummer and a drawback to it. But again, that's why I'm not really carrying it right now anyway. Yeah. So, and then the second part about taking care of my legs, varying my pace.
Do you stretch or vary your pace to take care of your legs and your feet?
Stretch or vary my pace? Not really, no. No, I probably should, but I don't. I mean, I vary my pace for sure because sometimes you're going uphill and sometimes you're going downhill and sometimes you stop for a snack. So, but that's about the extent of it.
Well, when at the start of when you were having like those shin splints or whatever, you were doing like different stretches.
Different
with your
stretches.
Toes
Yeah,
and
that's
your
true.
feet and stuff.
If I was wise, I'd be stretching more, but I don't stretch. No, not really. I should, but I don't. But I also think like I stop often. Like if you guys have been watching my videos, like I take zeros more frequently than a lot of people. If I want to get to town and enjoy myself, like I'm out here to enjoy myself, so I'll stop. I got a wife who's traveling, within a few hundred miles of me at all times. So if I want to see her, we'll make a plan and in a week we'll meet up and I'll spend a few days with her. Or right now I'm home, and that's amazing. So I'm stopping more frequently than I think a lot of hikers are. And that's kind of how I justify the lack of other forms of self-care. So
Yeah. Well, this kind of goes out of order, but just kind of to stretch off of that, like stretching. Kevin Tolbert asked, what kind of workout were you doing before starting the trail?
not a lot as well. I did a lot of hiking last year, a lot of hiking. I mean, several hundred miles. I did 200 miles on the AT itself, and a lot of 2 and 3 night hikes, several 4 or 5 night hikes, and one 10-night hike. So I did a lot of hiking to try and see how that all went. And as far as exercises, I mean, I've always worked on my feet, and I've always carried a backpack through life. So sort of some of that more hiking specific stuff, I felt like I kind of had, no pun intended, like a leg up on people who don't carry a backpack or work on their feet.
Yeah.
There were some like hip exercises. I'll try and find them and drop a YouTube link down below for a guy who had a channel that was showing all sorts of hip exercises, because I felt like my hips were the part of my body that I was most aware of going into the hike. My legs felt strong. Everything, obviously you're going to hurt at the beginning and then get better.
Yeah.
But my hips were kind of the part that I kind of wanted to work on. So I'll try and drop a link for that down below.
From Mike Adams, great mileage, love the socks, where did you get them? I like those too, the compression socks.
Yes.
I noticed the bear bags. What method did you use when a box or cables are not provided?
Yeah. All right. So socks are easy. Those compression sleeves, those are the Zenza is the brand, compression sleeves. They have 1,000 different patterns. They're all wonderful. I really like those colorful ones. I got them from REI. Easy. You can buy them on Amazon. You can buy them on REI. I forget which, but one of those two places has a wider selection, probably Amazon, but whatever. Something I love about them too is, just like all my clothing, I treated those with permethrin as well. So I just love the idea of everything up to my knee is going to kill a tick if a tick tries to climb up me. And I feel great about that. They're also super colorful, which is like motivational as you move your way down the trail. And I bought that particularly colorful batch because Daphne, who is very much real, does a lot of watercolor and painting and stuff like that. So they kind of looked watercolory to me, and I thought that would be a nice,
That's cool.
not like I'm going to forget my wife, but it'd be a nice, like, I don't know, I like to tie things together and make it a concise package. So it kind of remind me of her and have me thinking of her. So
that's very sweet. Gear
oh,
question.
bear bag.
Oh yes.
Yeah, about the bear bag. I do hang PCT method for sure. I've gotten decent at pitching a bear line. And I'm a Boy Scout about it. I never sleep with my food. I just never sleep with my food. My food is always going to be in a bear bag, in a bear box, on a bear cable, or up a tree. I will say, if I'm being honest, I've broken the rule of the distance of how far away from camp I've pitched my bear bag, but I always pitch it, and it's always going to be PCT method. It's just easy, it makes the most sense, and it's the safest. So PCT is easy.
This is from Amy Yu. Have you considered fingerless athletic / workout gloves to help alleviate hand blisters?
I've definitely, I know, a lot of smart people. I've definitely thought of fingerless gloves, or fingered gloves, or whatever, either way, gloves. And I was just at REI yesterday and saw a great pair of outdoor research gloves, like $35. I just don't really, does it make sense? Sure. Would it help? Yeah. And I definitely appreciate the thought, but I'm just lazy, and I also just don't want to wear gloves on trail. Like, I got a hang up about it. I just feel like I would look like it's too much, man. It's too much. You can't be riding a bicycle with shin guards on and stuff. Like, I just can't.
How are the blisters doing? I mean,
they're coming together. They're getting harder. They're getting to be calluses.
Okay.
So eventually, I mean, by the time we make it to Maine, I should be good to go.
Oh, so the next gear question is from me. Hi.
Hey.
What are the top items you found you couldn't do without? On the flip side, are there any items you found you could leave behind? Lastly, any surprising items that weren't necessarily on any list but you personally found helpful to your hike?
All right, items I couldn't do without, items I've left behind, and items I found helpful that weren't on the list. I'll start at the end, because again, those rain socks, or water socks or whatever, dry socks, those have been, I love them. Whatever. Again, makes me soft, makes me silly. I didn't see it on any list, because I think just about every through hiker would be like, why are you carrying those? But I love them, whatever. I love them. And I also bought the neon ones because I like having something very bright in case of emergency or whatever. I have something fluorescent that I could wave around or run up a tree or something. Yeah, so that's something I wasn't expecting and I didn't find on any list that I've really enjoyed. And as far as stuff I've gotten rid of, there are a few things. Like, I've already gotten rid of stuff, and in fact, I'm changing out a bunch of gear on this stop as well. And it's less a matter of not liking it so much as it's a matter of I just didn't need it. Like, it's good gear. Like, my Patagonia Capilene thermal pants or whatever, like, I'm not going to say they didn't help when it was 15 degrees outside, but I have a 0 degree sleeping bag. Like, it was unnecessary, you know? They're great. They're a great piece of equipment. They're, you know, I like them, but I didn't need them, so I got rid of them, you know? Some other gloves, I had like the Sirius brand or Cyrus or something, waterproof gloves that were garbage. Those I will say I got rid of because they were garbage. Didn't like those at all.
Are those ones that I sent you?
No, it's a different, yeah. The ones you sent me. So Aaron made me up a set of, what is it? Not Mountain Hardware. There's a brand, a very ubiquitous brand of like rain mitt that needs to be seam sealed. So Aaron sealed them up for me and mailed them off. I ordered them to her house and she seam sealed them and mailed them to me at Fontana, I think.
Yeah.
So basically the rainproof gloves that I had were trash and I returned them to REI. And I got the rain mitts plus the Z-Packs Possum Down gloves, which are great. A piece of gear I couldn't do without is pretty much everything I have right now. I'm not carrying a whole lot of extra stuff. I mean, the trekking poles I think are totally indispensable. I use the heck out of them. I love them. They've definitely saved me stumbling several times.
Oh, wow.
And the other thing, even though this kind of runs the exact opposite direction, is they let me pay less attention to where I'm going. Like, I was just up on a ridge a couple days ago. I guess you guys would have seen by now, but when like the top 5 feet of a tree fell off, you know, right in front of me, 40 feet in front of me or whatever. And with the trekking poles, I'm able to cast them out, pitch them out a little wider. So I kind of open up my stance a little bit. And with the trekking poles a little wider, I was just watching the trees as they were waving. I mean, like a 20 or 30 feet back and forth to the tops of some of these trees. And with the trekking poles, I felt pretty good about not falling and stumbling and stuff. And I could keep my eyes up at the trees while not falling down or whatever. So trekking poles, I mean, are totally indispensable in my mind.
When I go on trekking poles, I fall down.
Yes, exactly.
From Sanch, Alex Amato. Catching up on these, what happened to the GoPro?
The GoPro was a thing. I try not to be too negative on any of these videos. I always want to stay positive and talk about the great hostels I've been to or the wonderful people I've met, and if there are bad experiences I have, I normally just don't really try not to report them. But so that's what happened with the GoPro. Basically, it was a negative experience. The back screen cracked, which didn't affect the functionality, but I was concerned what affects the waterproofness over time. GoPro has a subscription, which I've subscribed to, that says that you can, if the GoPro that you have gets damaged or stops working at any point, you can just mail it back and they'll mail you a new one. They kept me on hold for about 8 hours over the course of several different phone calls, talking to supervisors and everything else. Basically, they wanted me to mail in the GoPro I had. They wanted it to sit on a shelf for 7 days in quarantine before they would open the package so that they could inspect it.
Wow.
Once they inspected it, then they would mail me a replacement GoPro. But at this point, we're talking about 2 or 3 weeks away, and they needed to know which address I was going to be at. There were so many reasons why this wouldn't work. So basically what I wound up having to do was I bought a brand new GoPro, paid full price for a brand new GoPro. Once I had that in hand, I sent away my old GoPro to get warrantied so it could sit on that shelf or whatever. Because the new GoPro I bought had a 30-day money-back guarantee. So basically, as soon as I bought the new one, the clock started. And I needed to mail away the old one. I needed to have that sit on a shelf for 7 days. I needed to have them inspected. I needed them to mail out the replacement, which went to you.
Yeah.
So they mailed you the replacement, my sister Erin the replacement. And as soon as she got it, she overnighted it to me in Marion, Virginia.
Yeah.
So the minute that arrived, then I mailed out, in fact, I guess there was the clock expired before that because I was shooting on my phone for a couple days. So the one that I had bought, that I only had a couple days left for the 30-day money-back guarantee, I had to mail that one back to GoPro as I received the replacement. So it was a disaster. Basically, GoPro didn't help me out at all. I hate to say it. Like, I hate to be negative. I hate to, like, shade the company, but they were completely unhelpful. I mean, abjectly unhelpful. Did not help me at all, which was a shame because they're supposed to be, like, outdoor activity based, you know, people who want to do stuff and things like that. And they were completely unwilling to help me out. So anyways, all's well that ends well. I got a wonderful GoPro. I love the camera. I do not like the company. Do not like the company.
This is our last gear question from Mike Darden. How's your pack working out? I'm looking into getting one.
Pack's great. The Z-Pack's Arc Hall, I think, Arc Blast. I forget which one I have. Z-Pack something. You can check my LighterPack list. Pack's great. I found I definitely needed that second lumbar pad on the back of it. It just kind of poked against the bottom of my back and was pretty uncomfortable. It is far less comfortable when I'm stocked up for like a 5-day resupply. So if you're going to be doing longer in between towns or something, it gets uncomfortable. It definitely gets far less comfortable at 35 pounds or something like that. You know, but for what it is, an ultralight pack, it's great. It's great. I can't say anything against it. I mean, you know, set your expectations. It's an ultralight pack. It's not going to be as comfortable as like an Osprey or Granite Gear or some of this other really like padded up stuff. I love it though. I mean, I love it. I don't really have anything to say against it. I will say another piece of redundancy built into my hike is I have that 1/8" Gossamer Gear foam roll that I use usually under my sleeping pad in my tent, which kind of lives on the bottom of my pack on the outside. And I also have my sit pad. A lot of people will carry just one or the other. I'm carrying both. I mean, I'm almost halfway through my hike now. I guess I could chop redundancy at this point. But I started off carrying both, and I continued carrying both out of habit. But I started off carrying both just in case I'd heard that the straps of the pack get uncomfortable, which I think the padding has started like wearing down. It's basically just like a 1-inch piece of nylon webbing that runs on the outside of the pad. So the more you're carrying heavy weight, that 1-inch nylon webbing flattens out or compresses the pad underneath.
Yeah.
And I've heard of that becoming uncomfortable, and I feel it too. I mean, if I'm going with a 5-day resupply or whatever, you basically feel like you're almost just wearing 1-inch nylon straps, and it's kind of digging into your collarbone a little bit. But I'd heard of people taking either their Thermarest Z seat or 1/8" Gossamer Gear foam pad and just hacking off a bit and stuffing extra padding underneath the shoulder pads. And that made sense to me. So that's why I packed in that redundancy from the beginning, and I'm still carrying it because I'm lazy.
So this is from Jason again.
Cool.
What has been your favorite day / part on the almost first half?
All right. So favorite day or part for the first half. 2 days that I definitely remember pretty poignantly. The day 14, the descent down into the NOC, the Natahala Outdoor Center. That's just a beautiful little strip of trail right there where you come off. It's just a razor thin knife's edge descent off a ridge, and it's really cool. It's just a super fun bit of trail. I think every thru-hiker who's done the AT would say the descent at the Knock is it's something kind of special. The climb out of the Knock is pretty miserable, but the descent into the Knock is great. It's really, really fantastic. And then a totally, really, pretty much nondescript day that I think, like, my spirit was the happiest was day 32. I ran into Gadget that day. It was my first slack pack from Mother Marion's to Uncle Johnny's, I think, in Irwin. It was my first slack pack, which probably helps my spirits quite a bit because I wasn't carrying anything. But it was just, and it was wild because when I did run into Gadget, he said the same thing. It just felt that day, there was something in the air that day. It was like, I don't know if it had maybe rained the day before and so things were extra green and popping, but just everything in nature felt electric and alive.
Oh, wow.
Like the air was crisp, the sun was bright, the wind was cool, the plants were like neon green, everything was blooming, birds were singing all at the same, and everything all came together on this one day And it was wild because it wasn't like, it's not like I ran into Trail Magic and got beers or had a really good meal or met up with someone I hadn't seen in a long time. There was nothing like tangible that made that such a great day. But that day 32, and Gadget felt the same way when I ran into him. It was just, there was something about that day that just like, things were just clicking and everything felt, it was just a beautiful day. And it's wild because I went back and watched the video and I'm like, there really isn't anything particular. And even in the video, I don't feel like it really comes across as being...
Yeah, I want to go back and watch that video.
Yeah, I don't feel like it came across as being as fantastic as it was, but that day was just, it was just a slam dunk, man. It was just a slam dunk. It was just a great, great, great day. Aside from those two, the other things I'd say is Grayson Highlands and the Smokies were both absolutely ridiculous. Those are two fantastic parks, and I look forward to going back to either one of them in a second. Just magical, magical places.
Yeah.
All right, folks, so that was the first half of the Q&A. Tomorrow we're going to have the second half of the Q&A that my sister and I did with all of your questions. So check back tomorrow. Appreciate you all watching. I'll see you then.